In January 1931, inside a Liverpool home locked tight from the inside, a woman was found brutally bludgeoned to death. 2 months later, her husband was sentenced to hang in record time, but he never reached the gallows. William Wallace became the first person in British history to have a murder conviction completely overturned on appeal, based solely on the fact that the evidence didn't actually prove he did it. The horror of the crime stood in stark contrast to the life the Wallaces lived. For 16 years, they occupied this standard terraced house on Wolverton Street, existing in a world of quiet routines, chess matches, and violin practice. This case is a legal anomaly because the facts are contradictory. Every detail left behind points in two opposite directions at once, depending entirely on which story you choose to believe. The mystery began with a phone call to William's chess club, a man calling himself R.M. Qualtrough asked for a meeting the following night to discuss an insurance policy. The location was an address William had never heard of, 25 Menlove Gardens East. William spent the next evening riding trams and asking pedestrians for directions. He found Menlove Gardens north, south, and west, but he eventually learned from a local officer that east was entirely fictitious. He returned home from this search to find his doors locked. After fetching his neighbors to help him get inside, he entered the parlor and found Julia dead on the floor. She had been struck in the head with terrific force. This phantom address is the anchor of the case. It was either a shield William built to give himself an alibi, or a lure designed by a killer to ensure Julia was home alone. To the prosecution, William was a strategist. They argued he had plotted the murder with the same foresight he used at the chessboard, faking a wild goose chase to hide a brutal crime. Operators traced the Qualtrough call to a public box just 400 yards from William's house. It was placed at the exact moment he would have been leaving for his club, suggesting he made the call himself before heading to his match. On his journey the next night, William seemed to go out of his way to be noticed. He told tram conductors his destination 4 separate times and approached a police officer to confirm the time was exactly 7:45. To the police, this looked like a man aggressively manufacturing witnesses. Then there was the bloodstained Macintosh found under Julia's body. The police theorized that William wore his raincoat naked to protect his clothes from the blood spatter, committed the act, and then attempted to destroy the coat in the parlor fire. Based on a milk boy's revised testimony, the window for the murder was incredibly tight. William would have had just 15 minutes to kill his wife, clean away every microscopic trace of blood, stage a robbery, and reach a tram stop 2 miles away. Under this specific lens, the evidence paints William as a strategist who had accounted for every variable, nearly succeeding in hiding a murder in plain sight. But the defense saw a different story, a husband being framed by the real killer who used that phone call to empty the house. The prosecution's timeline required the efficiency of a professional, but William was a sickly 52-year-old with 1 kidney, still recovering from a severe bout of the flu. This comparison weighs the physical reality of the crime against William's health. The killer had to deliver a dozen high-impact blows, scrub themselves clean in a cold bathroom, and sprint across town in under 20 minutes, a feat that seems logistically impossible for a man in William's condition. There was also another possibility: Gordon Perry. A former colleague who had been caught stealing, Perry knew William was a creature of habit and knew exactly where the insurance cash box was kept in the kitchen. Through this second lens, the persistence with the tram conductors looks like the genuine anxiety of a man who is lost. It suggests that by focusing solely on the husband, the police may have missed the person actually holding the weapon. The appellate court eventually ruled that the prosecution's case was built on suspicion rather than proof. They overturned the verdict, and William was set free. But he returned to a city that had already judged him. Despite his legal exoneration, the public saw him as a killer who had simply outsmarted the system. Neighbors avoided him, and children taunted him with rhymes outside his home. He lived in lonely isolation until kidney disease took his life just 2 years later. The case ended in a stalemate. Every clue cancels another out, proving that without hard science, evidence is just raw material we mold into the stories we already want to believe.